If you're like most farmers, you're running pretty hard right now. And it's not because you want to, it's honestly because you really don't have a choice. And you're just trying to get through to the end of the year. But the top 1% of farmers, well, they're already thinking about next year and beyond, right? So their game plan right now and their thinking is already 12 to 24 or 36 months out into the future. And that is what separates the top 1% from the other 99% of farmers and ranchers and ag business owners inside of this country. And inside of today's video, I'm going to show you 3 specific things that the top 1% of farmers or ranchers and ag business owners are doing before year end so that they can get ahead of tax season, avoid costly mistakes that come from a lack of planning, and step into the new year with clarity and confidence. Now, everything I talk about today isn't about guessing or just comparing yourself to your neighbor and really doing what they're doing, which is what a lot of people do. It's more about making decisions based on real numbers that your farm operation is actually telling you and making sure that you're doing everything you possibly can to position your farm and your business for long-term success. The truth is, you've got a lot more control than what you think, but that only happens if you take the action before we flip into next year. So here's the first thing that the top 1% of farmers are doing. They already have a game plan put together, not only for next year, but for the next 3 years. And I want to explain why that separates them from everybody else. You see, they're proactive in their long-term planning for their operation, but they've also built a business that gives them the time and the space in order to think long-term there. And the thing is, though, too, is they're more calculated and strategic in their decisions, which also affords them to have that time and space and ultimately patience when it comes to making decisions. Now, if you're in the type of a position today where you are forced to make decisions today and ultimately be reactionary, it's most likely because you've made bad decisions in the past and now you have loans that exist because of prior year losses or things like that. And now you're forced to make decisions today, even though it may not be in the best interest of your operation. So what I'm talking about here when the top 1% are being more calculated and strategic, when you do this for years on end, your time horizon starts to increase, right? You're no longer just thinking about next week, next month, or even next year. Now you're starting to think multiple years into the future because you have this foundation put in place in your business across finances, across operations, across your team, and just across your strategy and what you're going to do long term. But you don't get to that place if you're constantly running around 24/7 every day, putting out fires and not really doing the critical work inside of your farm operation that's going to move the needle forward and create that time and space and ultimately patience for you to actually be able to conceive and think through what does the game plan need to look like for my farm operation over the next 1 to 3 years. This is the first thing that the top 1% of farmers or ranchers and ag business owners are doing in this country that separate them from everybody else. And the other reason that they do this as well is because those of you that, again, are just scrambling, trying to get to the end of the year, if you don't have a cash flow or balance sheet put together until January, and you really haven't put together a game plan for next year until January of next year, you're already behind. And you're not behind just a little bit, you're a long ways off. And when you put yourself in this type of situation, you become reactionary with every decision, which means most of the decisions that you're going to make going into 2026 are going to be based on emotions, not facts and strategy. And this, again, is the importance of making sure you have a strategy in place way before the year is over for next year and the years beyond, so that you can make decisions based off of facts and following your game plan, not emotions and just reactionary things that happen. So if you're already feeling like you're behind for next year, just need to know that you're not alone in this. But just consider the possibility that you're watching and seeing this video right now because it's God's way of trying to get something in front of your face to motivate you to take the action to start getting your game plan together for next year. And this is exactly what we help our members inside of Legacy Farmer do each and every year. They have clear cash flow plans and strategies for next year and a game plan that's going to help them focus on one thing: maximizing their profits. All right, now let's move into the second thing that the top 1% of farmers, ranchers, and ag business owners are doing, and that is they're reviewing their team chart. Now, what do I mean by this? So as Legacy Farmer has grown, for an example, at the time of this recording, we have about 25 team members on our team. And when I'm going through and really thinking around what is our strategy for next year, 2 years down the road, 3 years down the road, I have to look at 2 key things inside of the business. I have to look at, one, our finances, right? So I have to be structured and organized and have a game plan put in place and a cash flow projection put together for the next several years. But also, and more importantly, I have to look and analyze how those finances are going to impact and compare with our team and really start to game plan out, what does our team need to look like over the next 1, 2, and 3 years into the future? What do promotions look like? Do we need additional seats? What does the evolution of this business actually look like? And most farmers or ranchers, I get it, are not in the place yet where they have a full-on team, but I don't know one that doesn't want to get there, because once you start adding a team, right? And again, A lot of you may be saying, I can't afford to hire team members. Well, if you don't know your numbers, then you have no idea if you can afford to hire anybody or not. That's why the foundational piece that we take care of in Legacy Farmer is getting a balance sheet and cash flow projection, month by month cash flow projection, put together for each individual business so that when you do need to hire somebody, you can actually see if it's going to work with the numbers. But most people, they don't know their numbers. So their whole statement around saying, I can't afford to hire anybody isn't backed by any facts. So that's why we always start with those foundational pieces when customers are coming in. But it just plays a pivotal role in how you're going to build the operation here, because once you start getting the team in place here, you get the time, the freedom, and ultimately that space and patience there to finally create the mental capacity to start thinking 1 year, 2 years, 3 years down the road and into the future there. And you start to progress up through the team chart, and you really start to settle into that visionary role inside of the organization, which is an extremely important role there, because everybody else that's out running the farm operation or running the equipment or anything like that, their future is dependent upon what you do inside of the office when you are analyzing the financials and really casting the vision for the company and determining where you're going, what people you're going to need to get there, and how you can make it happen financially. That is such an important role, but most people, they never build the operation the right way to get themselves in a position where they can really step in that visionary role there and truly experience the space and the patience there to be able to think long term and have that capacity to be able to think long term for the company. And I'll end this section with a quick tip for you. Most of the people, when they come to Legacy Farmer, we start helping them build out their team chart. Most operations have anywhere from 6 to 12 seats if you're smaller. If you're a bigger operation, then you're going to have more than that. But here's the problem though, and people wonder why they're spinning their wheels year after year and never getting ahead. Because when we put together this team chart and all the seats that this business demands in order to be successful and just really just get by with day-to-day operations, guess whose butt is in every single seat? It's typically 1, maybe 2 people. And so this is obviously a problem because you only have so much mental capacity on a day-to-day basis to really think through and perform at a high level in each seat that you're in there. But if you're constantly jumping from seat to seat to seat to seat, you're jumping mentally from one way of thinking to the next way of thinking to the next way of thinking, and it just takes your mind time to actually get fully calibrated inside of that seat, typically 20 to 30 minutes of focused work there in order to be 100% productive inside of that seat. But if you're constantly jumping around, your mind is just going crazy, and this is why you feel overwhelmed and burnt out at the end of the day, even if you didn't physically do that much, but your mind is exhausted because your ass is in every single seat inside of the operation. And this is a great exercise for you to even do right now, to start drawing out all the seats in your operation and what the roles and responsibilities are for that seat, and then who's responsible for it, right? Who owns that seat? And if your butt is in every single seat, then you have massive, massive problems, my friend. All right, so now let's move into the third and final point for today's discussion. The last thing that the top 1% of farmers and ranchers and ag business owners are doing inside of this country is they're focusing their downtime on personal development. And what do I mean by that, and why is that important? Because when you get to a point where you're truly in the visionary seat, I'm sorry, but you're the leader of the entire organization, right? Which means in order to lead more people, you have to expand your capacity as a leader as well, which means your awareness has to increase, how you take care of yourself has to increase, your knowledge and education and how you're building the operation has to increase. Learning what not to do is a huge piece here, and learning from the mistakes of either other business owners or other farmers or ranchers inside of your region, wherever that may be there. You have to constantly be putting in additional work on personal development, because the operation is only going to get as big as you are, right? And I'm talking about your capacity, because as you're going through and doing this, you're actually expanding your capacity to handle more. And as you start doing this, you're going to be more calm, more peaceful, and just more patient with things that are happening inside of the operation. That also combines with the importance of having a longer time horizon too, so that you're not overreacting or letting your emotions lead you when it comes time to leading other people, because a lot of people inside of the industry, they let their emotions guide them, and then they blow up on their team or blow up on their spouse or whatever that is there. They just don't have a level of awareness and control over themselves and their emotions to be able to lead the team at a high level. But going back to what I was saying, your capacity has to expand. And when your capacity expands, now the capacity of the entire team and the farm operation is going to expand as well. It all starts with you at the top. And so if you are not focusing your downtime on personal development and leveling up who you are as a business owner, and more importantly, as a leader of an entire company and team there, you're never going to get to where you want to go long term. And some people, they're like, well, man, I just want to relax in my downtime. I'm sorry, but you can't have the best of both worlds. You can't grow a big business and be able to have all the downtime that you want there and not focusing on personal development and things like that. You just don't get both, right? God doesn't work that way. If you want to build a big business and build a big operation and have a big team and support a lot of families and have a major impact inside of your community, I'm sorry, but there's going to be a price to pay. And the price to pay is you have to be very diligent and disciplined with your time that you're given every single day. And most people, unfortunately, think that learning stopped after we finished high school or college. And that, to me, that was where learning and life just started to honestly begin there for me. I've learned so much more after college. I look back at college and see it as a complete waste of money and I have a business degree, and my college career taught me nothing about business. Everything I've learned in business is from actually building a business and solving the problems head on there and learning things as I go. And so if you're not spending your downtime learning, expanding, growing, and increasing your knowledge base and just your skill sets and everything there as well, you're not going to get to where you want to be long term. So to wrap up today's video, inside a Legacy Farmer, my friends, we work with the top 1% of farmers or people that want to be in the top 1% and truly run their businesses with a level of clarity and confidence that most people, they have no idea how to get inside of today's industry. Now, if you want control of all of your numbers, your decisions, and ultimately your business's future, then I invite you to click the link below this video, book a free call with our team, and see exactly what it looks like to plan like the top 1% of farmers, ranchers, and ag business owners. Don't wait until the end of the year or until you are reacting to more and more problems that are existing because of your inaction. Put the plan in place before the problems actually show up, and I promise you it will change everything about how you run your business and your success long term. Use this window between now and January to build a solid plan for next year and start leveling up yourself and your business.